Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to some realistic expectation, and this is just a second realistic expectation about a newly released dev blog about a tank, and this time it's the M1 Abrams after I covered the Leopard 2K. Now about the M1 Abrams there is a lot to talk about. We have to talk about the firepower, we have to talk about the ammunition, we have to talk about the mobility, the armor and special features that Gaijin mentioned in the dev blog. So a lot of stuff that is here to speculate, but a lot of stuff that we have already within the game that is kind of mentioned in the dev blog, and I think that we'll get some really decisive ideas for certain people. So first of all, let's talk about the gun. We are told that this tank will have an M68A1 cannon. If you look at the M60s in the tech tree, they have an M68 gun, and this is known to be a variant of the L7 gun that we see on the Leopard, the Centurion Mark 10 and so forth. And when we look at the reload rate, first of all, this tank will have no autoloader, but a system that helps the loading process. So there is some sort of carousel in the back of the turret, to a certain degree like we see on the MX50 Super C. However, this will not be an autoloader. There is still a loader that grabs the shell, which is single piece by the way, and throws it into the breech. Now the normal M60s within the American tech tree will have an ace reload of 8.3 seconds. So with this tank we can expect, I'm sorry about this, a reload rate at least of 8.3 seconds. However, it is also said of 6.0 of sustained firing. This is the number that I hope for. Then we also have to talk about the ammunition. 3 ammunition types are mentioned here, or that I will mention. First, in the dev blog, heat and hash ammunition is mentioned. At the end of the dev blog, I will come to this back in a moment, but heat will have 400 millimeters at least. Same goes with the hash from L7, you know. But against era protection, composite armor, spaced armor, and very thick armor, it really doesn't do very well. I mean, fire with the Leopard A1 at the front of a T64, especially with the new one, we will see how this will go. And the next one is depleted uranium long rods. Especially, I will mention here the M833 APFSDS T-shell. So one of my secret sources sent me this datasheet, and we'll see how it will come to be like that, or if that is true. I hope for it, because it needs 500 millimeters or 490 to be precise. Just to put this into perspective, this is depleted uranium long rod. So the Chieftain from the 120 millimeter gun has 410 millimeters of penetration. With the APFSDS, this has 490, so 80 more than a Chieftain Mark 10's APFSDS, which is pretty strong, just to put it into perspective. Now, what is depleted uranium? And to make it short, in the process of getting weapon-grade uranium-235, or to at least enrich it to a certain percentage that you now can use that uranium for nuclear weapons, you have a lot of byproduct in the shape of the uranium-238, which is still radioactive and is still very poisonous. It's just another isotope, and this comes down to how many neutrons are there in the actual atom core. And well, this is a story of its own, but you have a lot of potential uranium, and it is very heavy, very dense, and with some sort of you know, chemical magic and so forth, you can make it also very hard. And this is what you really need for a very good APFSDS core, for the actual long rod penetrator. But it's a problem in reality when it comes down to how to clean the area afterwards, because a normal steel penetrator, a normal even tungsten penetrator is not really poisonous, is not really dangerous. It's just a piece of metal in the ground. But with depleted uranium, it's toxic, and it's radioactive, and especially if nobody cleans up the battlefield, it will contaminate the battlefield for, you know, upcoming generations even. So this is really nasty stuff. But we're talking here about a game, and even the post-penetration damage effect is really nasty, because it will not just create, you know, a lot of spalling or a lot of shrapnels. Also, some of the uranium will get shrubbed off in some sort of dust, and this dust is highly combustible. It's highly pyrophore. It will create an explosion inside the tank alongside the shrapnels and still the big parts of the penetrator. So it's really, really effective. Then let's talk about the mobility. And we have here 1,500 horsepower for 60 tons, so 25 horsepower per tons. The Leopard 2K here, in contrast, will have 30 horsepower per tons. However, the difference is here, and I'm really, really excited about this one, that this one has a gas turbine, the M1 Abrams that is. And that means it has a very quick response. It immediately has all the power. It doesn't need to spool up. It just consumes a lot of fuel. But you immediately have all the power, all the torque that you need. You don't need gear shifting, immediately full power, full throttle. So it's more like a, well, to put it into car terms, it's like a turbo engine where you do left foot braking around the corner. It's like a slingshot. That's what I want to talk about. So, okay. Then also the armor. And we have a lot of stuff here, maybe even new features. First of all, we have internal armor that is specifically mentioned with the fuel tanks and the ammo in armored cases. So maybe spalling effect will not immediately make everything burn inside of the tank. But also the fuel tanks are in the front of the tank. They will absorb a lot of the hash, a lot of the heat, and even a lot of the shrapnels from the APFSDS that gets fired at you and penetrates the tank. Especially the rather flat lower glacis of the tank looks like an inviting target. And we know already how they work in game when it comes down to Soviet tanks, or also the KPZ-70 that already absorb a lot of the stuff. So we can expect it to perform like that. Then we also come to the normal armor. First of all, the frontal armor shall be mentioned. Versus kinetic energy rounds and chemical energy based weaponry, both we will see around about 400 millimeters of effective protection. So APFSDS, HeatFS, whatever you name it. That is not bad, to be honest. So it's a kind of a little bit like a hull down tank, but I'm not quite sure about the turret. Therefore, I'm not quite sure what to think about it. The next thing is the Checkroom Armor. It is a lot of spaced and non-explosive reactive armor that is mentioned here. How it exactly works, I'm not quite sure. A lot of the stuff is still classified because it's still a very modern tank. So yeah, another part that is important to mention here is the back of the turret, where the ammunition is stored in the carousel that allows the loader technically for faster reload, as I mentioned before. However, there's also a blowout panel. That means that the tank crew might survive an ammunition hit. Let's just see how it works in a previous classified video.
This once secret test footage demonstrates that in spite of detonation, the blast doors protect the crew from the fire.
So that looks impressive, right? That is like, oh cool, I can survive ammunition rack hits. Not quite. Okay, first of all, the ammunition of this M68A1 cannon is named to be single piece ammunition. That means, as of now, it doesn't matter where you hit, it either will just vanish or explode. However, in the dev block especially, very explicitly, it is stated that, now pay attention, it depends where you hit the ammunition and which kind of ammunition you actually hit. If you hit the warhead of the heat and hash shell, it will explode and the tank will be classified as destroyed. If you hit the uranium depleted or the depleted uranium long rod penetrator, M833 APFSDS T-shell, then the shell will just most likely vanish. You know, there is nothing explosive. The combustible gases, or what explodes inside the tank from the depleted uranium, that is caused by the actual penetration process. That is a difference. But if you hit the propellant charge, okay, then it just will go off like in the video scene. So it's very, very interesting. This might be a new game mechanic that it really depends where you hit the ammunition. This would be hyper realistic. It will cause a lot of frustration to go away if you hit the ammunition and you hit it properly. Then it's very important. Also for tanks that have 2 stages of ammunition, for example, the what's the name? Yeah, the M103 with the 120mm. It now depends which kind of ammunition you hit. If you hit the propellant charges, if you hit the warhead, if you hit an APCR, APDS, APFSDS warhead. I'm really, asking myself what will happen if this will get implemented properly with APHE warheads, because technically they are solid shots, but then technically they also have a high explosive filling. We will see how this works. For further information, we will have for the dev server, we need to do a lot of testing. We need to go out and just look how it plays out, because at this point in time, it depends what Gaijin is actually able to implement, what Gaijin is willing to implement, which other tanks will also come, and how it will work out. And yeah, without further ado, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have more information, get them down into the comment section. Give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.